Hello everybody and welcome back, or welcome if you're new. As always, my name is Addie and this is the Knits by AJ Knitting Podcast, and this is episode 49. I hope you've all had a wonderful week. I have got one finished object and 3 whips to talk about today, but I thought I would start off by actually remembering to tell you about what I am wearing today. So this is the METAMORPHIC pullover by ANDREA MOWRY, and I knit this up out of West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft. I can't fully remember what the colours are. But it's just this lovely sort of mid-tone grey and this kind of orange speckled colourway, and yeah, I knit this up in size 2 and I wear this a lot actually. I think I put it down and didn't wear it for a long time after I finished it, and now it's become a real staple in my wardrobe. It's become one of those things that I just find really easy to chuck on. So yes, that is what I am wearing. And let's start with finished objects. So my finished object this week is a pair of socks, and these are just a pair of vanilla socks that I knit up out of the second week of my weekly advent from Giddy Yarns. So this colourway is called If I Can't Find a Reindeer, I'll Make One Instead. And I showed these last week as a whip, and I had finished sock 1 and I was about here on sock 2, and obviously I've now finished it. I knit on these a lot whilst I was editing what I knit in 2020, no, all the garments I knit in 2024 video. So these got a lot of work last week because they were just so easy to just pick up and just knit around. I knit these on small circulars, the 64 stitches, just a standard vanilla sock. I did a 2x1 rib, which is my favourite rib to put on a sock, and I just added in these stripes. I can't actually remember how many rounds I did. I think it was 8 rounds of the main colour and then 4 rounds for each stripe, and then finished off with 6 rounds of the main colour before going into the main body of the sock. And as always with these, I knit the ribbing on a 2mm needle, and I knit the main body of the sock and everything else on a 2.25mm needle. And yes, these are my finished socks. I have got a fair bit of the yarn left over, so I think I'm going to knit up a matching pair for my daughter because she has requested more socks this year. I just added in another stripe at the bottom of the foot as well, just to kind of tie them in to the rib. I really wish I'd done 2, but to be honest, I'm not at the point where I'm going to pull back the toe and do that, because most of the time you're not really going to see the foot of the sock because it's going to be in my shoe, or my slippers, because I don't go anywhere without my slippers at the moment because it's freezing. It's so cold at the moment. I knit these to like my usual kind of formula for vanilla socks. I did 60 rounds for the leg, a heel flap and gusset, and then I think there's like 64 rounds in the foot. And yeah, just a nice pair of vanilla socks. I cast these on December the 24th. These were my Christmas Eve cast on, and I cast them off yesterday, so these were on my needles for a total of 30 days. And cost wise, I only have sort of like a rough costing of these because I bought this yarn as part of my advent, so the whole costing of it would be for like 4 sock sets. But obviously I did not use 4 sock sets in this. But the pattern obviously was free because it was a self-drafted vanilla sock pattern, and the yarn, the whole advent cost around £80. So for one skein out of the 4, I would say it would be about £20, which is, I think, fairly comparable for a sock set. So yes, I paid about £20 for the yarn, so I'd say the costings for this project were about £20, which it's always expensive when you use hand-dyed yarn for socks and then do like a costing for your project, but to be honest, I feel like it's well worth it to pay £20 for this sock set because I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I love how the colourway has knit up. I love how variegated it is, and I think that a vanilla sock has really allowed the yarn to shine. And I quite like the fact that I've just used little bits of the mini instead of doing like a standard sort of heel, cuff and toe in the contrast, so that it's just a little bit more interesting. So those are my vanilla socks, and Now let's get into whips. So first whip I have to talk about today is my northeasterly blanket. I did not mention this last week because I didn't work on it, and this week it's kind of come back and I've worked on it a fair bit because my other whip was drying for quite a lot of the week. So I am knitting up a northeasterly blanket by SKEINANIGANS, I think it is. I can never say it right. I think quite a lot of people have knit one of these up. I think it was a big advent project a little while ago, but I decided to use this for my advent. So this is the daily advent from Skein in the Stitch last year, and it was based on Alice in Wonderland. And so it's this beautiful like pastel fade, and I absolutely love it. So last time I showed this, I was up this end. I was on the third strip and I was about here. I'd just finished doing the first colour and I'd started on the second colour of the third strip, and I have now finished that strip. So I have worked all the way through the colours from day 24 all the way down to day 13 on this strip, and so it's exactly the same as the one before it, and it kind of zigs back this way, following the chevron pattern, so it just keeps on going. This thing is so long. So yeah, there we go. That is the end of strip 3, and then I've started on strip 4. So this was day 12, 11, and I'm now into day 10, which is this lovely lilac colour. And then this marker is just to show where I've changed colours, because on some of them where they are very, very similar, like between these two colours, especially when I'm knitting this in the evening and it's quite dark, I find it hard to tell where the start of one colour is and where the end of the other one is. So I've just been adding in that marker just so that I can count the garter bumps. So I've been doing 26 garter bumps in each colour to give me a fairly sort of decent sized strip of each colour. Like that is one colour from here to here. And sort of like allow the fade to kind of shine without having to change colours too quickly. And it kind of worked out that I was using about 5 grams, well, I thought I was using 5 grams per colour, so that I would be able to go through the advent 4 times and get 8 strips to make it a fairly wide blanket. This blanket is being made to go on our sofa downstairs, so it's fairly long, so it can go over both me and my husband when we're like sat watching telly in the evening, and then the dog likes to sit in the middle of us, so that kind of takes out quite a lot of the blanket. So it needed to be quite long, but it didn't really need to be all that wide because it's not going to go on a bed or anything. It's only got to go kind of over our laps, so it's got to sort of cover the seat of the sofa and then go over a little bit. So 8 strips was going to give me enough width to do that. However, I have weighed my skeins now at the point that I'm at. So some of them have only been used once and some of them have been used twice. And the ones that I've used twice some of them are only 8 grams now, 8 grams of leftovers. So I'm not sure if I'm definitely going to get 4 goes with 26 garter bumps out of them. So I may have to order a skein of undyed or of a similar colour in the same base from Skein in the Stitch to finish this blanket off. But to be honest, I'm not all that fussed about that. It doesn't need to be perfect. I wanted to make a project where I was going to be able to use my entire advent, because last year I used my advent to make a Daft Day shawl, and I still have scraps of that left over, and I'm kind of unsure as to what to do with those. I know there's loads of people who've put playlists, like Nitty Natty has made a playlist of what to do with advent scraps and everything, but I'm just undecided about what I want to do with those. And so this year I really wanted to make a project where I was going to use up the whole advent, and I am really enjoying knitting this. I really like the kind of meditative bit of garter stitch. I really never thought that I was going to be like a garter stitch person. I've never really enjoyed knitting it before, but I do in this, and I think it's because the rows are so short and that you're picking up stitches now and everything, and there are obviously decreases and increases in there to create the chevron pattern. So it's not just knitting like a garter stitch square, there's some more interest in there to keep you going. And obviously then I'm changing colour fairly often as well, so that keeps it interesting. But yeah, I'm just going to continue working up these. I would like to get the 4th strip finished by the end of January, so that I can then sort of do 2 strips a month. I think that's fairly achievable for me. Once I get going on this, I'm quite quick at it, because it is just knitting, and it's something that I can do like whilst we're watching telly in the evening without needing to kind of concentrate too much on it. But yeah, it's just, I'm a little bit disappointed that I have weighed my yarn wrong. When I initially started, I weighed my yarn and I thought I'd used 5 grams, but I think maybe perhaps I've ended up using like 5.5. Perhaps I should have used some scales that maybe went down another like decimal place. But yeah, I love these colours. I think it's so nice. I think it kind of goes with everything. And yeah, really looking forward to getting a little bit further on this. Also, if I finish this strip, then I'm halfway through, and then it kind of feels like I'm on the home straight with it. Because yeah, I never thought that I would be a blanket knitter. I thought, because I've never been able to knit a scarf, so I thought that I was going to get really fed up with the blanket and need something that was going to kind of grab my attention a little bit more, like with sort of garment knitting. But actually, I've really enjoyed it, and I think I might knit another one as well. But yes, that was my northeasterly blanket, and I cast that on December the 1st, so it has currently been on my needles for 53 days. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be on my needles for much longer. I kind of put a ridiculous deadline on myself of saying I wanted to have that finished by like the middle of February, and it's just not going to happen, to be honest. It's probably going to take me much longer, but I'm okay with that, to be honest. We have blankets that we can use in the meantime, and it's going to be a lovely addition that is going to last us a really long time, and be a real kind of like staple piece of our living room. So if it takes longer than I thought, it takes longer than I thought, really. Okay, so whip number 2 has also had a fair bit of progress on it this week. And this is the self-drafted cabled cardigan that I'm knitting for myself. And I am using Gepard Woolia in the colour olive. And I'm using a 4.5 and a 3.5mm needle. And this is just utter chaos at the moment. So last week when I showed this, I had just finished up the body and I had just blocked it, so it was still a little bit damp. And I have now added on the ribbing on the bottom of the body, and I've added on the first sleeve. I did block this sleeve up to about here, and then I realised I didn't want quite as long a ribbing as I thought, and so I've added in a bit more of the cable repeat and then added on the ribbing. So anything further down from here, so all of this bit hasn't been blocked, which does make it kind of sit a little bit funny at the moment. It really does need to be blocked to kind of like really sort of let those cables relax, because right now it's kind of really clinging on to me. But I'm not 100% on this sleeve, to be honest. I love the design of it, and that's not going to change. I changed it up from my like first version of this that I knit a couple of years ago, and added the main cable pattern onto the top of the sleeve. The other one that I have only has the twists on the top of the sleeve. So yeah, I added in some more cables onto the sleeve, and I took out quite a lot of the moss stitch to do that. And I've kept the invisible decreases going down the sleeve, so they run either side of this cable that then follows the rest of the body down. And yeah, I've sort of tried to make them as invisible as possible in the moss stitch. But when I did the numbers for the sleeve, I took out some of the ease that I had in the body. So I had 15 centimetres of positive ease across the bust, and I've only put 12 in the sleeve. And I just don't think it works, to be honest. I think I'd prefer it if it had the same amount of ease as the body. And so I think I'm probably going to rip this out and re-knit it. So I haven't knit the second sleeve yet, and currently my plan is to like redo the numbers and everything and knit the second sleeve with the same amount of ease as the body, and then re-block it so that I can kind of make a bit of a decision on which sleeve I prefer. And yeah, I think it's probably going to be the wider sleeve, to be honest, because although this has some ease in it, because of the cables, it just sits too close to, like, it sits just a little bit too tight to the skin. Like, there is still positive ease in there. It's not like got negative ease or anything. I think it just needs a little bit more to make it kind of flow with the body of the cardigan a bit better. So yeah, that was a bit disappointing, but to be honest, I think it was one of those things that I wasn't really gonna be able to make a decision on until I had knit it. And at least I know that, like, I like the fact that the main cable is on the top, and I like the actual design of the sleeve. I think it works well with the body of the cardigan, but yeah, I'm just gonna have to pull it back and, well, I'm just gonna have to knit the second sleeve the other way and then make a decision on where I want to go with it for the sort of final pattern. But I think it looks lovely. I absolutely love how this sleeve looks. I've added in 2x2 ribbing and then an I-cord bind off, but I'm also going to pull this out and redo it because I'm just not happy with how it looks. I like the I-cord bind off, I just don't like how this one is looking, and I think I have, where I've picked up the stitches, or like knit the two stitches together, I think I've done it the wrong way around. So I'm going to pull this back and redo it and make it look a little bit more, kind of refine the technique a little bit better, because it's not matching up with the vision that I have in my head for this. But yeah, other than that, I have obviously done the ribbing on the bottom of the body, like I said earlier, and I've done the collar, and I've started on one of the button bands. But I haven't done any bind offs yet because I've kind of got this idea where I want to do like a continuous I-cord bind off all the way around the like edgings of the cardigan, and also incorporate the buttonholes, a bit like on my SKEINANIGANS cardigan where there's an I-cord bind off. But I wanted to make it really kind of continuous, really sort of, and like really flow around the edge of the cardigan to kind of bring it all together. But I need to kind of like finish up all of the ribbing first so that I can then sort of figure out how best to articulate that into actual words and actually kind of knit it as well. But this is where we are with this. I absolutely love how it looks. I'll get some B-roll of me wearing it as well so you can kind of see how it looks on and see what I mean about the sleeve. But I can't wait to be able to wear this and sort of test it out and everything. The pattern writing is going okay, I think. It's taking a lot more kind of brain power than I thought it would. I've done most of the grading and just at the point where I'm kind of like trying to articulate what I've actually done into real kind of written words. And obviously everything needs to be charted as well. But this is where we are. And hopefully next week I'll have a little bit more kind of progress to show you. A little bit more positive progress. Because, yeah. I guess that's just a thing that I need to kind of get used to, that obviously when you knit a pattern that's already been written, it's already like somebody else has already gone through this process, whereas like now I'm going through this process of sort of figuring out that like what works and what doesn't, and having to re-knit bits that I initially thought were going to work and now don't. But yes, this is where we are with this, and I cast this on December the 26th, and I have currently had it on my needles for 33 days. So there we go. I love this colour as well. I'm so excited to be able to wear this just for the colour of it. It's absolutely stunning, and the yarn is an absolute dream to work with. This is so light compared to my other one, which, okay, yeah, is a bit bigger, but that is knit in Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool. This just feels like nothing. That is so heavy compared to this. So yeah, I can 100% recommend the yarn. It's absolutely lovely to work with and gives great stitch definition. There we go. So yeah. And my final whip for this week is my daughter's Effervescent Mini. It's patterned by AIMEE SHER, and I am knitting this up in Woolly Knit Super Soft Merino 4-ply in the colour Rose. Now I think this yarn has been discontinued. When I was trying to do all of the links and everything in the description box last week for last week's podcast, I couldn't find this on the Woolly Knit website. it's not even like it's out of stock, it just doesn't exist on their website anymore. I did find it in a couple of places like elsewhere, but I don't know if they're just trying to sell through their stock. And their Woolly Knit are discontinuing this yarn, which is a little bit disappointing because it is a really nice like superwash, like fingering weight superwash merino. But yeah, I assume that they are in fact discontinuing it, because since I can't find it, or perhaps they're just relisting it or something, I don't know. But either way, I'm using a 3mm and a 3.25mm needle for this. And it's bottom up, so it kind of looks like nothing at the moment. But last week I was in the ribbing, and so this week I have finished up the rib and I've changed to my larger needle and I've started on the stockinette for the body. And I think I'm about 2/3 of the way through the body. And yeah, I've been taking this with me as sort of like my travel project. So I've been knitting on this like when I've been waiting for my daughter to come out of ballet, or like if we've been heading off anywhere in the car. I have just been knitting on this because it's so easy, because it's just stockinette. It's kind of almost the equivalent of knitting a stockinette hat. It's like muscle bra knitting at this point. I feel like kind of knowing that I'm getting to the bit that I'm going to find really fun, like the lace work, is kind of giving me the oomph to work on this a little bit more than it does like once I've finished the fun bit and I've just got a load of stockinette to knit. And I'm kind of enjoying that for bottom up construction. So I have got about 1/3 more of the body to knit, and then I have got to do the sleeves, and then you join it all together and knit the yoke, and sort of like do the collar and everything, and I think probably seam up the underarms, but I'm not sure yet how that's done. I haven't read that part in the pattern. But yeah, this has just been easy breezy stockinette knitting, to be honest. I'll probably knit on this whilst I'm editing this video. And yeah, just continue knitting on in the stockinette. I love these needle stoppers. These are from Folk Yarn Studios, my friend Laura, and I absolutely love them. They are so jolly. And I feel like they've kind of converted me into being somebody who actually uses needle stoppers. Before I would just let my stitches kind of roam free on my needle and they would always end up slipping off and I'd end up dropping stitches. So yes, have definitely been converted to a needle stopper user, especially for projects like this, because I have chucked this onto a 16-inch circular, and so my stitches are fairly cramped, but it does kind of speed me up a little bit when it comes to knitting this, and it's sort of makes it a little bit easier to kind of manage my stitches. I prefer when they're a bit more kind of cramped on the needle, because it stops me having to like stop and maneuver them around the cable too much. But yes, that is my Effervescent Mini so far. I'm really enjoying kind of like taking my time with this, to be honest, and not like rushing through it, because I feel like my daughter needs more things in her wardrobe. She's got enough to keep going at the moment, and because she's at school for much longer now, like when she was at nursery she was only there for half a day, so when she was at home with me in the afternoon she would need jumpers to wear, whereas because she's at school for much longer and only at home and like needing to be in like her own clothes for a little bit in the evening, it means that things get a little bit more wear before they then need to be washed. And so I don't feel like that much, I don't feel that pressure anymore to kind of get things done quickly, and I can kind of take my time a little bit more. Oh, apologies, my voice is now going. But either way, I cast that on January the 14th and it's currently been on my needles for 9 days. Okay, so that is everything from me knitting wise this week. I'm really looking forward to getting some more work done on that cardigan and getting the sleeves kind of figured out in my mind. I took an evening away from it last night, and I think it's kind of helped with the like decision fatigue that I was going through with it, where I was kind of having to make a lot of decisions on like ribbing and what I wanted to do with the sleeve and like how much ease I wanted and bind offs and everything. It was all just, I think it was getting a bit much, and I'm glad that I've taken a bit of time away and now I can kind of get back into it and make some decisions on it with a bit more of a clear head. So that is kind of the plan for this week. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Let me know what you're making at the moment, be it knitting, crochet, cross stitch, sewing. I love to know. I really want to get into sewing a little bit more this year. I feel like I kind of dipped my toes in last year, and this year I want to sew a few more bits for our wardrobes as well. I've got some fabric on the way to kind of get some bits done for around the house as well. But yes, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will catch up with you all next week with some more knitting. Happy making!